welcome to the Entrepreneur Success Formula podcast, where we'll be getting down to earth with real entrepreneurs. You know, the ones who work hard and know that success is more than a mindset, because it takes blood, guts, and a bucket full of luck to survive and thrive in the world of business today. My name is Damien Mark Smith, and I am the host for the show and author of the Entrepreneur Success Formula, How Thriving Business Owners Actually Do It. And in this episode, I am speaking with the wonderful Dawar Ali, who is the founder of Recruitico, which provides highly skilled, offshore, remote tech staff, try saying that when you're late at night and you've had a couple of drinks, who work in Pakistan and provide a unique way to outsource and tap into international talent. So Dawar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Damien.
So let's start with at the beginning, where we always start. Why did you start your business? When did you start it, and how did you get your very first customer?
Okay. So why did I start my business? I always wanted to start a business, right? Okay, so it was it's just something that I always wanted to do. Ever since I was in high school, I I didn't really want to work for someone. I wanted to sort of be my own boss. That's the thing. As to when I started my business, so this was in 2017. Um, so I had quite a few ideas for quite a few years, but I wasn't quite in a position to start my business. But in around about in 2017, I worked in marketing for a few years. Things were a bit more stable, and I thought it was just about the right time to sort of just take the leap and start the business.
When did you get that kind of like that spark? You know, when did you think, oh, I know which business I'm going to start?
Okay, that's a really interesting story. So the whole idea of Recruitico, it's not sort of the biggest innovation on the planet. There are other people who do what we do, or they're in the same sort of industry. But the way we do it, and the industry that we cater to is probably the bit which is different. With regards to how it all started, or how I got the idea, I was working as a marketing manager for a local business. And we had this massive campaign that we were running. And for that, we had to cleanse this massive database of about 100,000 records. And it wasn't something that I could do. It was going to take a couple of months, someone working on it full time, and we didn't have any in-house resource for it. And so what I did was I approached a few of my contacts. I'm originally from Pakistan, as you know, who and I asked them if they have any sort of students who'd want to. It was just very basic admin thing, but I asked them if they have any students who want a summer job, who could just sort out these Excel sheets for us. And I found two people who were happy to do it. And because they were based in Pakistan, we paid them really well for it. But obviously, it turned out to be really cost effective for us, and it got the job done. And I just thought to myself, hang on a second. That's a business idea, and I said, okay, that's something that we can explore later. And this was probably 4 years before I started Recruitico. The idea was there, and then I started working on it a bit more towards 2015-16. And in 2017, I was sort of in a position where I could actually start the business, and then just took it from there, actually.
I love that, because it's actually, I mean, for those of you who don't know, the word entrepreneur, it's a French word, but it actually means it's someone who actually takes resources and puts them to use somewhere else, but for a profitable purpose. Right, so either that that usage is better than where they were. So wheat, grains, turning it into flour, turning it into bread, for instance, that's entrepreneurial. But what you just described then is a perfect example of the entrepreneur experience. It's like, well, hold on a minute, we've got people over here who would benefit, we've got people over here who would benefit. Put them together, and there's actually there's a way to create extra value there. That's really, really good. I like that. What's been the biggest mental challenge for you? I guess especially as like an entrepreneur based over here in the UK, you've got clients in the UK, you've got clients in Pakistan. So what's been the biggest mental challenge for you to overcome?
The biggest mental challenge for me to overcome, quite a few actually. But if I had to choose one, um, it is sometimes understanding. So one of the problems I have is having lived in the UK for quite some time. I understand the culture and I understand how things work over here. Being from Pakistan, having lived more than half my life in Pakistan, I understand how culture in Pakistan works.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges I have sometimes is I'm not sure if this is the best answer to your question, but this is one of the challenges that I go through quite often. Is about creating systems and processes which would enable our workers in Pakistan to understand the culture over here better. And it's just about and there's a lot of detail involved in a lot of things, and it's working on lots of detail on an ongoing basis for every new person that we take on both ends. So we work with the workers, with the staff in Pakistan to make sure they understand how culture works, what certain things mean, and we also work with clients over here. To make sure they understand the other perspective. The challenge is because sometimes some things are really obvious because you understand both ends,
Hmm.
but it's about getting it across to people and sort of articulating it and making sure everyone is on the same page as you are in terms of understanding different things with regards to culture and working arrangements and how certain things work and how certain things are perceived.
Of course, you've
Um,
got the language as well, so it's not just the culture; it's the language, and yeah. So
and Yeah, so
yeah,
it's that. Although most people in Pakistan speak English really well, but
yeah,
the other trouble is they think in Urdu and they speak in English, and things do get lost in translation.
yeah.
Um, and I still do that quite a lot, and I used to do that more than I do now, but I think I do that quite a bit as well. So I guess I'm not sure if that's what you were referring to when it
Yeah.
comes to a
Perfect.
mental challenge, but that's one of the biggest things that
Okay,
right
so
now.
if you had to start all over again from scratch, so it's day one again, right? What's the thing that you've learned between now and then, and that you would do all over again if you would do it differently?
Okay. Um, the biggest thing I've learned is to actually define your target market and and your product and your offering.
Yeah.
When I started, I was very ambitious and I thought we could do everything for everyone. And why
Oops.
would anyone not want to work with us?
Yeah.
Sure, what do you want? You want accounting support? We'll do that for you. You want this? We'll do that for you. You want that? We'll do that for you. Because in theory you can, but it's difficult. And yes, if I had a team of 50 people, maybe we could do a lot more. But when it's just you on your own, um, being focused and defining your target market is perhaps one thing that I've learned over the years. And if I were to start over again, I would focus on what I'm focusing on now. And if you ask me the question in 5 years' time, the answer might change. The focus might change,
Yeah.
but certainly the idea that you need to focus on your targets and have a focused offering is something that I've learned, and I would change that for me.
That's gold dust. Thank you. So if you were in charge of UK business right now, I mean, goodness me, there's all sorts of chaos happening with with the Brexit deal. If you're in charge of UK business right now, what legislation would you introduce specifically to help entrepreneurs? And I'm going to ask you to have this as like an overseas theme, so something that's going to help, maybe what you do specifically.
Okay. Um, right. Okay. I could have two or three answers to this, but I think one thing that I feel is really important, and I may get a little political here, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but the thing is, um, a lot of people who make the legislation, people who are people in the parliament, people making the laws aren't entrepreneurs. In most of the time they're not, right.
Yeah,
And they don't and the most critical part of an entrepreneur's journey is the early days, right.
yeah,
It's firstly when you actually have the idea. A lot of people have ideas, but you actually make that leap, and people quit their full-time job, or
Yeah.
go part-time or whatever. It's just making that leap from I'm doing my day job to now I own a business, right? And I don't think there's enough legislation out there that actually understands how much, what it takes and what support is required.
Yeah.
So I would introduce more legislation that would allow people to be a bit more comfortable about taking that risk, because I think a lot of people would have a lot of good ideas that could eventually become big enterprises, but just because they're afraid of, oh, I'm gonna quit my job, and that's gonna reduce my income, and what if I don't get my clients, what if the business doesn't pick up, they just decide not to do it. So if there was some sort of incentive for people wanting to, I would introduce more. I know there are incentives out there, but I would introduce more incentives for people who want to start their own business, and reduce the risk for them. Also,
And make
maybe,
it clear on how to get them as well, because that's the other thing which people don't get. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
even if you Google it, it's like it's still not clear.
yeah.
Okay, so on the back of that, because this is actually really useful, in because your background was marketing, and I think certainly when I speak to entrepreneurs, new businesses, they go, "Oh, marketing and sales, oh, I don't want to do that," and we have to sort of like go down the route of, well, hold on a minute, if you set up your systems properly, you don't actually have to sell anything. You just have to make it the obvious next step for someone to take. So, in terms of your own marketing for your business, what's been the best marketing tactic that you've used and why?
So, so from day one, and I guess fortunately because of the background in marketing, I understood one thing, that what we're trying to do is a high value, high involvement thing.
Yeah.
We're not selling widgets. We're not selling, something for everyday use, or something that's just a low cost, low value item. What we do is a it's a big investment for a lot of our clients. We're essentially providing them with people who are going to become a part of their team. It's a high value, high involvement thing, and that requires a lot of interaction, a series of interactions. You need to give them time, and you need to answer the right questions, overcome objections that they have. And it's a long sales process, and understanding that from day one was very important. And designing the marketing plan around that was very important.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, the marketing plan has always been based around having a high quality interaction with people. So when I say high quality interaction, and this is pre-COVID obviously, but there was a lot of focus initially on face-to-face interaction. So
Yeah.
going out there and meeting people where we can actually sit down and have a conversation. I can talk them through stuff, as opposed to other forms of marketing, which have an impact, when you're selling a different kind of product or service. So with that in mind, the biggest, the most successful marketing tactic I've had from day one has been events, which include networking and exhibitions, and meeting
Face to
people.
face, yeah.
And as you then quite rightly said, there are automated processes that you can put in. So you meet someone, how you follow up with them, when you follow up with them, all of that can be automated through lots of different tools.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's a face-to-face, high-quality interaction at events, which really work.
Yeah, no, I love it. And what's coming across like quite clearly is that it's the whole communication thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you need to understand your customer, you need to understand your clients. The best way to do that, get in front of them face to face, spend some time with them. You need to understand what they need. You need to understand the projects, you need to understand the language, you need to understand the cultures. It's all about like communication and understanding. So, okay, bearing that in mind, I don't know if this influences your next answer, but what is your favorite business book and why?
Okay, so I don't read a lot of books. I do read books. I like to watch things, documentaries, and TED
Audible?
Talk.
Do you listen to books?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, but I watch a lot of TED Talks. I know you've been on there quite a few
A few
times.
times, yeah.
And I watch documentaries. But one book that I read back in uni, which I think may have had some role to get me to where I am, was Blue Ocean Strategy.
What's that
It's
again? What is it? What is it?
Blue Ocean Strategy.
Blue Oceans. I've not heard of that one. Okay.
So it's about it's about finding it's based on innovation. It's about finding an idea which or innovating and coming up with a system or an idea which is new, so you have less competition for that. So it's the sort of Google, Facebook sort of approach, developing something new, finding a new market, finding a new product. It's based around that.
Okay, I'm just looking at it now. Oh, they got an audio book as well. Fantastic. Okay,
Instead of
oh, yep. So
so
I'm going to get that one on Audible in a minute. um, okay, what are you, a night owl or an early bird, Dawa?
it changes. Sometimes I become a night owl, sometimes I become an early bird. Since we've had our daughter, I've been more of a night owl because she goes to sleep, and that's when I start working. But generally, more of a night owl, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, do you have like a morning or evening routine?
I'm more of an evening routine than a morning routine, but yeah, yeah.
Okay. And what do you think what do you think your industry in particular, the offshore recruitment, what do you think that's going to look like in 50 years from now?
It's going to be massive. It's going to be massive.
Yeah.
It's going to be really big. So, the offshore, staffing and offshore resources, they're driven by two things really. So one is, or two or three things. One is, advancement in communication technology, which is, where, if you look 20 years ago and now we're, way ahead. We
Yeah.
couldn't imagine doing this 20 years ago. Difference in different economic regions. It wouldn't make sense if all the economies were the same. I don't think that's really going to, I think that's going to go up and down, but there will always be economic differences in the world. And the third thing is, obviously, people, businesses wanting to hire the best people and get high skilled staff. And as we become, with the advancement in technology, it just becomes easier. So I think it's going to be massive in 50 years. It's
Fantastic.
going to be very common to have offshore staff and
I
have
think so.
companies with staff based all over the world, as you
Yeah.
see.
No, absolutely. Right. What is your favorite business or entrepreneurial movie and why? And if they made a movie about you and your business, who would play the starring role? Who
Right.
would play
Okay.
you?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the first one that comes to mind is I've seen recently, and I don't know. One movie I like, if it falls into that category, is The Wolf of Wall Street. I've seen it recently.
Oh
Not
yeah.
that
Yeah,
any
it comes up a lot.
inspiration from it, but I think it's interesting, and I think if they had if they had a legit business or something, it would be it's an interesting story. It's an interesting journey. So
Interesting character,
uh,
Jordan. Yeah. Yeah.
it was. Um,
Who would play you in a movie then? Come on.
Gosh. Well, I'd appreciate it if someone was making a movie about me. I'd appreciate if they gave me the chance to play myself. Actually, that'd be my big break into
Yeah.
Hollywood or Bollywood or something. I did a little bit of acting when I was in school, so I wouldn't mind. Yeah, myself.
Brilliant. I thought you were going to say like Imran Khan or something.
Yeah,
he's,
Shah Rukh Khan, I think.
yeah, he's being busy being prime minister at the moment, so yeah, you can't do
Yeah, yeah.
that. Right. What are your plans for expansion over the next few years?
So we have a realistic plan, and then we have a crazy plan, and then we have a really crazy plan.
I
So
like it.
the realistic plan is to just keep going at the pace that we're going. We're trying to open up to more industries. So at the moment, we work with creative, digital, and tech sectors, some general sectors. So and that's where the first thing we were talking about, focus, comes into play. So we're doing well in these industries, understand a few other industries, and open up to them within the UK market. But then the crazy and the real crazy plans are, if you look at the theory, it's theoretically the business is there because of differences in economic regions and technology. So it doesn't have to be limited to the UK and Pakistan. It could very easily expand to other countries where they speak English,
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to stay in Pakistan. I know I'm from Pakistan, but it's not just about me; it's about the idea. So it can go to other developing regions like India, Bangladesh, parts of Africa. So yeah, but realistically, in the next 3 to 5 years, keep growing at the same sort of pace that we've been growing and open up to more industries is the plan.
fantastic. Thank you very much, Dawar, and thank you for taking this brief delve into the real lives of a real entrepreneur, especially doing what you're doing as well, because we've never had anyone on the show who does that. So, how can listeners get in touch with you?
So, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite easy to find because I've got an unusual name. So it's Dawar spelled incorrectly with a W. So it's Dawar and Ali. Or they could just go to our website, which is recruitico.com, and it's recruitico, so recruitico.com.
Fantastic. Dara, thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing your story with us. And can I ask that you and anyone else that are listening to this podcast share it with anyone else who you think works hard or maybe even would like to start a business or become an entrepreneur? Don't forget to like us and subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on YouTube. Sorry, we're going out on Facebook as well on the video. So if you'd like to take part in the show, simply drop me an email at Damien with an A at rethinkingbusiness.biz and we can have a chat. And Darwa, here's to your future success and speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, Damien. It was very nice talking to you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.